a very warm welcome to another very nice evening at the Summer Academy at the Pavilion, in between the exhibition of Uttnext architecture and about the project they collected. And we are very pleased to have this exhibition here. We started about 5 weeks ago with the International Summer Academy and had to wait until last week when the class started. But now they're in the work and it's going on very quickly. And tonight we do a lecture. And there are several people, all the architects are here. A very warm welcome to Hubert Klumpner, Michael Walczak, and Anne Graupner, and Diego Ceresuela-Wiesmann. But we also have a guest from abroad, Senka Ibrišimbegović, and with also very nice projects in between the architecture class. But everything will be explained by the architect itself. It will be a mixture between English and German, so everybody can attend and also join. And I guess there will be some surprises during the evening. So I was told not to talk too long because they need all the time, and maybe we are here until it gets dark or even the night, the moon is coming. So thank you for coming, and now I pass the micro to Senka.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Martina, and thank you all for hosting us to the Summer Academy of Salzburg, to hosting us tonight here in this wonderful pavilion. We will discuss with you the opportunities of Salzburg as a performative city, but getting you to know our experiences, and especially I'm coming from Sarajevo and I'm leading as an architect a museum of contemporary art that has a great collection in Sarajevo, but still does not have a building. So you will see. And this project is named Arsajevi. It is anagram of the word Sarajevo, and the logo of the O is actually the logo of the project. So I hope that you all know where Sarajevo is. It is in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It is a part of the ex-Yugoslavia that was separated during the 90s last century. It is a capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and it was built in the architectural style also during these old monarchies that occupied this territory once. So we have different architecture heritages and styles in the city of Sarajevo, which is very nice to see and to experience by, walking just through the city. And the Arsajevi project was formed during the siege of Sarajevo that lasted almost 3.5 years in the 90s, like 92 until 95. So it is 30 years since we have a Dayton Agreement, which is like a peace agreement for Bosnia and Herzegovina. And this project is an international collective will of the artists of the world to donate a piece of art to the city of Sarajevo, to the citizens, as resistance to the war. So to give them a hope through the art, and to somehow, with that hope, give them like the survival energy during this siege. The motto of the project is, if you are looking for the hell, ask the artist where it is. If you don't find the artist, then you are already in hell. So the motto is reinterpreted quote of the Avignon Pevsner by the artists from the collection, Dejan Jokanović Toumin, who is today living in Zagreb, and he quoted this in art like in 4 different languages. We have more than 160 artists donated their piece of art, and I will just show you some of them. We have a famous Josef Kossuth, who donated his neon lights. He made it site-specific for Sarajevo by pointing out the main development dates and the periods for the city of Sarajevo. And he produced it in neon lights, and he tested it because it was during the war. He tested it in Venice. For some of you who have been in Venice, who have visited Querini Stampalia Foundation, can see it on the facade. He, of course, made it site-specific for that building, for that city, and it is the first neon light that was allowed to be installed in Venice. You know that it's a protected city, and it cannot have neon lights on the facades. So Josef Kossuth is still living in Venice and is still waiting to install his work in Sarajevo once the museum is built. We have Daniel Burain, whose installation is like a placeholder for the future museum. It is installed on the site that was given for the future museum to be built. It's still there. We, every second year, have to renovate the flags because they get, you know, like faded out through the weather conditions. We have Bishan Basiri with his sculpture and installation that he also set up in a site of future museum. Famous Yanis Kounelis, who made a solo show in 2004 in Sarajevo. He's also part of our collection. And we have used the opportunity after the war to present these whole pieces that were collected during the siege in Sarajevo in 1999 in a 10,000 square meter exhibition. It's not purpose for exhibition, but it is a Olympic Hall Skenderia. And it was at that time, and it's still the hugest place to exhibit such a big amount of art pieces. And until we have our museum, we have to use alternative spaces to show to the people of Sarajevo, but also to the tourists, the collection that we have. So we were hosted in a center of Skenderia with the Art Depot. That was a provisory and temporary place. Now you can find us in the City Hall of Sarajevo because we moved 5 years ago. Among the artists that we also have in our collection is the Ceresuela-Wiesmann, the American artist who died in 2007, I think. But for example, his piece of art we still don't have physically with us because it is a performative installation. We just have instructions on how we should install it once the museum is constructed. So this instruction is just for the Arsevi Museum in Sarajevo, but he made us also a statement that if we want to exhibit it somewhere else, we could adapt it according to the space. There are just 2 black squares that we have to somehow make in dialogue to each other or to space that is on disposal. So we made an exhibition in 2024 in Bihać. We have a project, Arsevi on Tour. We show the pieces of art in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also in different places around Europe and abroad. We are now also in America present with an exhibition in solidarity with NATO for the 30 years of Dayton Agreement. So we are traveling through the United States with some pieces of the Arsevi collection. So once the collection was formed, and it's still growing, we asked who could make a building for such a collection, and through some connections and people who are in love with this idea and the project, Renzo Piano, as a UNESCO Ambassador of Goodwill, joined in 1999 this idea, and he made visit to the city of Sarajevo. He was given a plot from the canton and the city of Sarajevo, which is Somehow, if you look on the map, Sarajevo is a bit longitudinal city, and it has like a big exit to the north. So somehow it's a center of this longitudinal alley that is somehow very dominant in the town. And after Renzo Piano was given the plot, of course, I just have to say to you, and you will see later on the images, in this site, there are two already existing museums. One is a National Museum and the History Museum from the modernist period. And this red plot is plot given to Renzo Piano to design a museum for our Sevi collection. And this yellow stripe is a planned road. It's like 4-line road according to an urban plan from 1970s. Yeah, and Renzo Piano first analyzed the site, and he noticed that Sarajevo has a river of Miljacka and a lot of bridges, but here there was one missing according to his opinion and urban analysis. So he decided after visiting the site that he would like to construct a bridge. So he made a lot of sketches and the design of the future museum, but the priority was the bridge as a first sequence to entrance from the Grbavica. It's a residential place, and it was also the front line during the siege of Sarajevo. It was like very, significant for the citizens to somehow have a pedestrian bridge on that side. And he constructed it in Milano and Genova by himself and his partners, and he brought it to Sarajevo, donated it to the city, and they installed it. And now we have a nice pedestrian bridge in Grbavica, but we still don't have museum. So this is the bridge, and it's very beautiful, and it's typically Renzo Piano wooden structure with some kind of very elegant, points, so that are very useful and very useful for the people who live there. And Renzo's piano design is somehow the dialogue with the History Museum, which is a neighbor. So as he had a plot, a longitudinal plot, he used only that one line to design for the future collection. And we presented the project that he designed in several places, also at the Venice Biennale. This was in 2009, because we were very proud that he finished the design in 2005. It's 20 years ago. And since then, we have different presentations, and this is this man in black is Enver Hadžomirspahić. He is a founder of the project Arsevi during the siege. And he somehow had to go to pension. It was like the time that he goes to pension. And at that time, it was in 2018, 17-18, city decided, because it was until then, the project was a foundation. It was not like institutional. So the city of Sarajevo decided to make it institutional, so to make a public institution out of this project. And they awarded me, appointed me to a new director, because I worked with Renzo Piano on that project when I was a young architect, when I finished my master degree in Italy. That was my first job, and I was very, honored to do some kind of inputs. I was like inputting the Renzo Piano building workshop with, on-site data analysis, soil analysis, etc., what they needed to do a preliminary design. So, and I, as a professor at the Faculty of Architecture, at that time I was teaching assistant, I did my PhD in order to prove that Sarajevo needs that building, because I wanted to fight, because I knew that it's really important that, Sarajevo has to have this museum. And after the war, of course, reconstruction priorities are not cultural buildings, or, you have other priorities, education buildings, medical buildings, infrastructure, etc. So somehow it's to understand that they didn't want to invest in a museum, but I wanted to fight for that. And then Corona came, and what to do? I had to find a solution to promote this museum, so I made a virtual museum. You can visit it on our website, arsevi.ba. I wanted to make it somehow, to visualize it, you know, to beside the collection, to make the people see how it would look like, you know. We have to update it a bit now, because also Renzo Piano updated the project. And then, after Corona, I managed to convince the mayor and the prime minister that we need, because the political structure changed, that we need a museum, and that I just need their like agreement that they want to support me to build. And I said to them, I will find money, and you just have to support me, and maybe to just participate minimum that would be needed, that I can participate, that I can apply for the grants. So I succeeded. I got money for the executive design. Renzo Piano was still on board, so he said, of course, we continue after 20 years. So we visited Genova. We selected a local architectural studio that should do the executive design, because it's like this, if you have international architects. So we discussed with Renzo Piano, and then the architect partner in charge, Ms. Baglietto, came to Sarajevo. We updated the project, and just the update of the project was that he changed the primer materialization of the elevation that was wooden. In the first project, he changed it to the stone one, because he wanted to make it more durable, like to be more sustainable, and more somehow also similar to the History Museum, which is also made out of stone, like the elevation is made out of stone. And this is somehow what would be like created once the museum is constructed. And until then, me as an architect and as a professor, but also as a leading person of this future building, I also noticed that in this place, in between now 3 museums, we have a space that should be divided with a transversal, with a road. So I wanted to fight against that idea, and I wanted to, you know, some kind of convince our planners that we need to somehow erase this road, because this space is already, look how it would look like. Like you have a National Museum, you have the History Museum, then the Future Art Saving Museum, and then the road. You know, that would also go next to the pedestrian bridge over the river of Miljacka, and it would cut one here pedestrian also road that is a very nice place for the families during the weekend. It's car free, and we then mapped this space, I mean, which is used as an alternative, you know, cultural and museum district during the whole year for different events. Like this is a street food festival. Then you have open air cinemas on that place, because it's a big, you know, still not built space. Then you have different promotion of the, you know, like activities, different presentations of the art in public space. We discussed here with the neighbor directors of the neighborhood museums of how they think the space would be and should be designed. And we thought that, you know, like instead of having this road continued, it would be very nice to map this whole area as a future museum district that could pop up to the, you know, side locations as a cultural district. And it would be nice. So we are still fighting for that. And in order to fight for that, we also make different student projects to show, okay, if we would need to have some kind of road, what would be alternative? Would be elevate some kind of pedestrian bridges, or would we have like really to use this site for installations for people who still or already gathered there last 20 years, and in order to convince our, you know, like somehow in order to convince our authorities. We always want to inspire them with projects that are, you know, collaborative with partners from abroad that could, you know, also show their experiences and motivate them, because they sometimes, you know, when somebody from abroad comes and convince them that the idea is good, they maybe believe it better than if we are, you know, like saying to them. It's like some kind of maybe psychology. So I'm very happy that I have support from my colleagues from ETH Zurich and from Urban Think Tank in this process, because we collaborate now for more than approximately 10 years, like since 2015. In different projects. We were also with one project from this area at the Venice Biennale in 2016, collateral events. We were making use of this space also with the Studio-Mobil that we named at that time Pumpna Stanica, and this could be transformed. We made a small stage. We presented it, like we made also presentations, like you can see it here outside of this nice pavilion. And we tried to somehow, you know, emphasize this big potential of this area in between the museums. So, yeah, and that's where I would like to thank all of you, but also all my colleagues that they will fight together with me with this great idea to make this kind of performative potential of this space real, I hope. So thank you.
Thank you, Senka. You already have guessed, this was the introduction. The lecture is coming now. But we said this invitation from the Summer Academy to hold a lecture, we thought it sometimes doesn't feel well. We wanted to do something different. And just like Martina already announced, this presentation will be in different languages. We could just pick from Spanish to Afrikaans, to German, to Polish, to Bosnian and English. We will stay with German and English. I'm not sure if our students at the Summer Academy, the architecture class, we speak English, but I'm not sure if we exclude somebody who came here today with the invitation of a Bürgerversammlung who would be disappointed if we speak in English. I'm just asking here in the crowd, wer spricht nur Deutsch? Nobody. Okay, so we continue in English? Is it okay? Good? Yeah? Okay, so I back up a little bit. I think this introduction of Senka, I would say we grew very close friends, but it shows also that there's another architectural practice possible than most architects, and we have a lot of here in the room, old and new friends that I can see here, that there's another architectural practice possible, an architectural practice of making projects that nobody actually asked for, but projects that seem necessary. And I think this project of the museum is a perfect example. If you think about the reality that people at the moment build in the world, huge museums in Abu Dhabi and in other places, sometimes without a collection, this is an inverse. You know, you start with a collection and then you build a bridge, and 20 years later you pack out a sketch and maybe you get the museum. And our practice, that is Diego Ceresuela in Medellin, our practice works also with immersion. If we work in a place, we cannot imagine to do this just from the distance alone or superficially. So we founded an office in Medellin. Diego is in charge of it, and you will hear more directly in his own words and his voice. Anne here, also part of our collective from South Africa, but also from Salzburg. Johannesburg and Salzburg makes a good pair. I myself just give away, which is not a secret anymore. I was in the Summer Academy myself. We looked up with Martina in 1989 with Kup Himmelblau, who was at the time an unknown Austrian office. And then there is Michael Walczak, who is in charge of our Sarajevo office. I think I don't have to explain why we have an office there. But we invented a practice of unsolicited projects to develop urban strategies. And this is what we would like to share with you, a bit of a deep dive to relate what we're doing and what also Senka already explained with Salzburg. And this is why we call this a Bürgerversammlung, yes, auf Deutsch, for a performative city. Yes, because we do think, let's say it like that, the thrill is gone. The original idea of the festival, and I'm not saying exactly which one, because our students are here actually the protagonists, inventing performative spaces for a new festival. And the spirit of the festival, the festivals that we work in, is actually that they are renewed. Many of the festivals, you know also, they have traditions, many of them also in this exhibition. I come to it later. It's a sort of an archive that we brought with us from Vienna, from Shenzhen, from Sarajevo, and from other places, now in Salzburg, to bring this experience here to the city and work with this summer academy, with this group of very engaged students. You will see the results on the 30th of August at the Fortress in our studio. I already invite you to join us, because you will see then the projects that are emerging out of this process, and using the tools that we are using, having the discussions that we have, and working through an architectural practice that looks at scales, but it looks also as quantitative and quantitative works. And what you already heard from Senka, we think that it is also necessary to engage through culture first. Architecture is a form of cultural practice, but this artwork that you already saw, Solevit, we're looking at the moment for a site. We already have a site, but I'm wondering if anybody of you already has an idea. Raise your hand at any moment. We are very interested in building, and we're measuring and going around in the city at places also which are not normally or traditionally the locations where the artwork is brought during the Salzburg Festival. So we're looking at some other places. I'm sure you recognize them. This is a place of Gabriela, who sits here in the audience, that has been offered to us. And we will see if Solevit's artwork, this is a quick sketch that we're sending around with people to have a discussion, if this would be a good site for this artwork. So it's not as precise as Senka showed it, but you get the idea. So we're looking for sites, because we want to bring the Summer Academy from the Fortress into the city, and then in the city also in different places. And I think the projects we looked at in the afternoon, you can, after this presentation, engage with the students outside on the Studio-Mobil. We have like, how many do we have now? 10, 11? Yeah, 10, 11 projects. It will be a poster presentation for everybody who's here also to directly engage with the students. But before we start, we would like to give you a bit of a tour, a journey, a trip through our work, relating this also back to Salzburg, but also through a lens. And when we started to work in South America more than 20 years ago, there were some topics on the top of the discussion which are almost disappeared at the moment. One of them, and you see some books lying around, was informalization. The informal doesn't exist anymore. The informal has become normality. And I can tell you, our engagement in different places, from Rwanda and South Africa, Medellin in Colombia, Caracas, Venezuela, Brazil, in the Balkans and in other places, comes actually from an interest to work architectural projects in a space where people live who have incredible ideas, but as Senka already said, they might not have land, they might not have money, but they have a big desire to produce their own city. Does that sound familiar to you? It is people who are not consuming a city, but they are part of their active environment and they're shaping it. And this is actually something that I mean when I say the thrill is gone. We would like to bring back with this studio also this thrill of making your own city to Salzburg. And we would like to also put this in the context of that there are different roles. because it's not only the architects who make the city, it's actually you guys sitting here. You make your city. And then, yes, there's a mayor, and there's a developer, and there's an investor, and I don't know what, but we also need to figure out what are the roles and who negotiates what, and how can we actually develop that. And we figured out that we cannot learn that here. We can teach it here, and we can discuss it here, but there are a lot of people around the world who know that a lot better. So our practice has a lot to do with collage, with listening, with engagement, and in doing things. There's no theory here. Our theory is doing the practice, and then we write afterwards books about it. Our competition is not winning a competition along with 50 other applicants, but we make 50 projects, and we only built one, perhaps. But we get our merit in showing these projects at the Biennale, in the Museum of Modern Art, and in other places. There's a system that is at place also in the architectural circuit, but we are trying to reinvent that system. And as you already saw, we're using tools and processes, and I assigned this insight also to our friend Max Rieder, who's sitting here in the first row. Salzburg is not ending at the border of the city, and it's also not ending at the border of Austria. There's a functional city zone beyond the city. And this is what this picture should introduce you. We are looking around the place, and that can take a lot of time sometimes. And that is how we start a project. But then we also come to this place, and we come to the Mirabellgarten, the Zwergelgarten. And this car is standing outside here. This was just a picture we took yesterday. And we got up today early in the morning to set it up together with our students, to fill it with projects. And there's a theory of change here also. We wrote this book. There were 17 teams invited to write a book about one of the 17 SDGs, and you might have all heard about the SDGs. Suddenly they're a bit out of the discussion. But it is important to say that the Sustainable Development Goals are actually a rewriting of the human rights. The Human Rights Declaration from 1948 seemed to be too difficult to have an impact in our built and natural environment, so the decision was taken to rewrite them through the SDGs. In our case, we took on sustainable cities and communities. We said targets and indicators are not working. We need another way of looking at it, and this is how the targets and indicators work. There's an SDG, there are targets, there are indicators, and you measure. We said this is not what we do. This is not how we work. This is how we work. We work actually through concrete experience, through practice, and through feedback loops. So it's much more a process that requires, just as Senka says, endurance. You shouldn't get frustrated too easy, but I also can guarantee once you're having 10, 5 projects or maybe 15 projects going, there's always something to do. And we have figured out how people and how a practice can work. But before we go in concrete projects, and there will be time that our different team members elaborate on them, I just want to tell you a little personal anecdote. I like to cut out stuff from magazines. This is one of my first cutouts. My brother is also here, he can prove it. This is from Scala magazine from 1970. And Scala magazine's cover, the magazine doesn't exist anymore, Scala magazine's cover was the world in the year 2000. I was fascinated. There were many pictures inside. But this was, in 1975, how the future was imagined. So if you look at this picture, you would say, probably good luck that didn't happen. This wasn't a dystopian magazine. It was actually a super futuristic, great magazine. Self-driving cars. Can you see them? Maybe a little bit closer. Almost no tree. Looks pretty wild. The interesting thing is that this is how, for instance, the Swiss energy companies advertise today the city of the future. And there is no city anymore. It is an urbanized territory where the built and the natural environment are almost going hand in hand. but from our point of view, there's one big thing missing here, which is the artistic and the cultural practice that holds all of this together. Again, I think Sarajevo is a perfect example how, like a phoenix out of the ashes, this city is actually emerging through this artistic engagement. And yes, you need the housing, you need the food, you need a lot of things, and we're working in crisis areas and in post-crisis areas, but we have found that the story of Sarajevo is prototypical of what is necessary. And we also found that clients are not looking anymore like that. A lot of architects, and when I went to architecture school, they said, yes, you have to look for this guy, and you have to make sure that he got the land and that he got the money and that he knows the brief, and that's the client. You have to hunt these guys. But we figured out that clients look different. These are some of our clients in Caracas, in Venezuela, in a barrio, in a favela, in a bidonville, however you want to call it. It's called Cota 905. It is the level above the sea, 905. They live in a barrio, and these are the people we started to work with. And sometimes they look like this. And this is not a joke. It's the mayor of Bogota, Anastasios Mukus, who took over a bankrupt city at the height of a civil war in a crisis with no budget. And he said, fine, I'm Superman. I don't need money. I can change this city through behavior. And they did. But obviously, we also figured out that you have to understand why certain practices and why certain urban strategies work in certain contexts. We cannot use Superman from Bogota in Salzburg. It won't work. You need to make your own ghosts and your own desires and your own imagination. And that turned into our practice. And I just show you how our current clients look like. Perhaps unusual figures for the general audience for this book, but I just pick out one, and then I pass the word over to Diego. The one on your bottom left is, for instance, Monica Berger. Monica Berger works with traditional Maya medicine, which is not recognized by Western medicine and also not by your health insurance company, for sure not. But we're developing at the moment in Guatemala a laboratory where traditional 2,500-year-old Maya medicine is tested against Western medicine, protecting the knowledge, but sharing it with a big number of people, not only in Latin America, but in the Western world. And there are other people.
Yeah. Well, those, as we said, we're trying to differentiate how we work from business as usual. No, it's not that we're waiting at home for this big mandate, no, with some money for a skyscraper. So this is where we start a project. No, we go outside. No, is it with it's a trip? Is it with a mobile studio that we have? The idea to going out. No, that's the first step. I think it's important also with the students. So it's not only academia, it's not only the university. We have to break the fourth wall. No, this we believe also that we can bring in our projects. No, so the clients, there's a mismatch between the needs of the communities and what the mayor can do. No, there's also 4 years to build a city, and we know, no, for us urban designers and architects is too little time. So you really have to find out how to bridge the decision makers and the actual needs. No, so this is why you need to understand and be able to stretch the process of not only a budget, a brief, and a site. No, so what we try, how we operate. And I think there's many architects, many ways to do it, all very respectful, but how can we really take care of what we believe? And it's about action, no? It's about going out there, no? So when we think about this mismatch, no, we say like, okay, what's the question? No, what do we really need to build, and where, and with whom? No, this is also something we're working with the students. No, that we have to invent that part. No, we have to structure the project. No, we have to find out the financing. No, this is something that usually architects don't do. But this is for us, like, if you control also the fundings. No, as we saw before Shakira. No, if you find Shakira, there's a bit more possibility that the project will happen, no? Because she's strong, she has an identity, no? In Colombia, no? They need 3,000 schools, we will see it later, no? But we believe in this power of design, and this is the most important thing, to bring solutions, to bring proposals. Many of them might fail, but many of them might actually be a success, no? Which is really trying to improve the public space, the culture and education, the sport, no? That we can bring to the cities, no? So I think there's a few topics that we will see, no? From the ecologization, digitalization, and urbanization, no? There's different scales. There's always designing in time, no, not only in space, because it's a process also, it's an engagement, it's an iteration of many ideas, but always with this idea that at the end of the day you can implement something, no? That's the biggest translation. No?
Just to also build on the idea what the biggest resource is in cities. So it's not buildings or money sometimes. I really believe networks and people are the biggest resource in the city. So where I come from, South Africa, 80% of the city is informal. So the biggest challenge we had in urban planning was really how to connect the informal city to the formal. And what we actually found out in working there, and it also applies to other developing countries, is really that you need to consider how much do you actually build. So I really think we need a much lighter form of urbanism that can be incredibly flexible and really tap into the networks of people to co-create projects. And in a way, participation in South Africa is a moral obligation in order to make sure that democracy works. And I think we've lost a bit of that in cities here, and that's why we also are so interested to work together with Sarajevo, or the city of Zurich is actually coming to Sarajevo to learn from Sarajevo, to possibly undo some of the things that are incredibly formal, to say, where are the spaces where we can still find expression as human beings and through culture to have an agency in the city.
Okay, so what does that mean? Let's go into some project work. So ecologization, one of our keys that we are offering here, is engaging with the following. For a very long time, whenever you made a building, you reduced the natural environment. There's a piece of land, you put a building on it, you have a building. The land is gone, right? And you hear this all the time. Many, many soccer fields of land, Flächenfraß, whatever you want to call it, are replacing our environment. We have figured out that that must not be like that. And I show you a concrete example. This is Cartagena, and in Cartagena for a long time people build along the beachfront, and you can take any city on the water. People build skyscrapers along the waterfront, from Rio de Janeiro to Vienna to Belgrade to wherever you go, but that could also work different. So in difference to the beach in Cartagena, we declared an area around this water body, the Ciénaga de la Virgen, a green zone. So the green zone is not behind the buildings, it is around the water. So there's nobody in front of the water. That's where everybody wants to build. It's the same effect if you want to pick up your suitcase after arriving somewhere on the airport. You see everybody standing on the belt waiting for the suitcase. Just think everybody would stand 20 meters away and would just go there when the suitcase comes. So we told the people in the zoning department, you're not building anything anymore around the waterfront, nothing. That has a good reason. Rising sea levels are a reality. Something that you maybe know from the news, we know from reality in Colombia. This effect of rising sea levels means that most of this, the area in Cartagena, even the one here along the waterfront, is actually flooded at the moment, which comes at an incredible price, including wealthy and poor zones. So the problem becomes the same. It's quite interesting if you look at crime, insecurity, bad air quality or water quality. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, people in the city have the same challenge. So what we were able to do then as an example, because that's a bit our point. Urban strategies are worked on a large scale, but we're looking for examples, projects, prototypical projects where ideas crystallize, where I said, this is the big idea, and now I develop a project where I tell you what we want to do. So we're looking at these areas, and we're building in this zone here, 8 meters above sea level, a school. And we're building a school, although thousands of people at the moment are moving from the flood zone to higher grounds. We're building a school and not the housing that is also missing in Salzburg, for instance, because we say that people can build the housing themselves. Just anybody who has a housing problem, from students who pay too much for one room, to a young family, to a grown-up, or somebody who retires and says, I would like to see where I live. The problem is the same in Salzburg as it is in Medellin. And it comes maybe as your surprise, it's not about the building, it's about the land. It's about the cost of land. And when you make zoning, and this is what we do in urban strategy and negotiations, when you make zoning, a mayor can actually steer that. You can steer that value and you can provide land. And people are doing it around the world. It's not witchcraft. It's a political decision and you need to do it. And we know that there are some voices in Salzburg also trying to do it. And I show you one other territorial example, and we are showing you at the very end of the lecture 3 projects that we're building in this context. This is Medellin in 2018, and the mayor of Medellin decided to bring nature as infrastructure back in the city. So it is not, okay, we built the city, and that means we reduce green space on the periphery. This is what happens in every city around the world. No, they said we bring the green back into the city. This is not a photomontage, along the rivers and the water flows. We have some projects here also working on these topics. They're bringing the green back as infrastructure. It's not a road, it's not a high voltage power cable. The infrastructure is the nature that comes back in the city. And this is not a nice idea of greening, it's a strategic idea to survive and to use different materials and to use different structures that stand in these areas that also manifest and prove how these projects can look like.
And I think it's very important also to give a bit of a context of Colombia. Now, we've been working there for 12 years already. We have our office there. Also, what Hubert just showed, the green corridors. No? There's something like it's already a brand from Medellin, also with our partner Alejandro Restrepo, together with the mayor, and it's admirable. No? Also, the work that has been there. There's a power that maybe here in the good old Europe we are missing a little bit in the last years. No, so. This work, though, I mean, you probably have heard, no, in the 90s, Medellin was one of the most dangerous cities in the world. And there's a moment that there's no much hope, no? Maybe we can bring it back to problems that we have also, climate change, war, poverty, that might happen, that might shift. No crisis, it's all over and it's going to shift and it's always going to be there, no? So how this power of design that we want to bring, also where we go, we believe that we have to have a look at the future that can be in different scenarios, on the scenario that we want to achieve, no? Because if not, we're not going to get there, or we're going to get somewhere else that we don't want, no? So Medellin is an example, an incredible example. If you have the possibility to go to Colombia, absolutely mandatory, no? I think it's the place where you understand that urban design and this proposal from citizens, not only from politicians, left, right, communities, are ready to make projects. No, so one of the projects that we've done there, we just finished this a few weeks ago. It's a cultural center in the periphery, in one of those mega housing projects. That we've seen also only housing, it's not a city. You need to create spaces that are integrating infrastructure, that are more than public spaces, that are breaking a little bit the walls and the rules of security, insecurity, no? So this is a project that we just finished. I mean, maybe it's more interesting to show what it happened actually. And it's a roof, you might say that, synthetic. It's in Barranquilla, it's very warm, the sun is criminal at 12 in the midday, but it also rains a lot, no? So maybe we start with something direct, no? You have a cover, no? Actually, I mean, we work with whatever budget comes. If it's small, it's small. We do it. We synthesize what we can to have prototypes also, no? Not just to rediscover the wheel, but to have prototypes. And this is actually something that we're very proud of. It's a timber structure because the industry there is not there yet, developed like in Chile or southern South America, no? And this is a building done in Colombia with a Colombian construction company, a new way of doing projects. And we propose it to many mayors right now, no? Because as I said, no, in 4 years, you might not be able to bring a lot of projects. And we're working actually in a Creative Commons license, no? So this is an open source project. We believe if it's good and the people can take advantage of it, improve it, make prototype 2.0 smaller, longer. This is a 100-meter building, but they can do it in 30 meters. They could 60, they could pair it, no? So I think that's the power of not being a silo and keeping the knowledge only for us, no? So this is a cultural center, but we call it as a roofed public space, no? Because spontaneity and the power of culture and what is happening there, which is also 2 million of Venezuelan migrants displaced from the conflict, but they all gather under a roof that through culture, cooking, weaving, sport, whatever, they find a way also to interact and create that community that I want, no?
Second theory of change, no, from the environment into the digital, no, because we believe as architects and planners, we are not only designing the architecture, but we are also designing our own tools. We are designing policies. So we believe we have to also engage in developing these tools to do that architecture that Diego and Hubert and Anne explained, no? And to use tools also to identify what challenges and what opportunities we actually also have in certain places, no? Climate issues, for example, no? They're all everywhere else. Now we speak about heat islands, but there are also cold islands, no? So we always have to look at the card from two sides, no? Because these things are so interconnected and interrelated. And for that reason, and for that I will give later also the word to Anne to explain more also about our mobile data collection vehicle, the Studio-Mobil, which you can visit outside. We are very much interested in agents. No, the agents, what we heard at the beginning, can be the clients, can be the citizens on the streets, can be the architects, but we are trying to understand with such digital tools, digital models, how these agents actually interconnect and interact with each other and what do they do throughout of a day. And that is also an interesting theory of change that is happening with the digitalization process, that for a computer, it also doesn't matter on which scale we're working, you know, if we're just developing a small project or if we are looking at a whole country, like here in this particular case of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And then suddenly this scale issue, which we always had, no, drawing by hand, and then we need to draw it differently on a bigger size of paper, etc. It doesn't matter anymore, no, because we can seamlessly zoom in and out into certain places. And what is particularly interesting for us in our own practice is that we are not having this tool as a result. This is just the process for us to get to the result. So our practice is very much result oriented in identifying challenges and proposing certain architectural design and urban design solution to tackle these challenges. And for this, we do scenario. Most scenario thinking. I think that's also very interesting to not say this is one possible future solution, but there's many. Diego, you showed for the Security project that this project can also adjust and adapt to different sort of conditions which you have on a particular site. And that's also our theory, to develop these prototypes, these urban prototypes that can also be translated and scaled to different places. And from a citizen perspective, what we also believe is we need to engage also into this virtual space, to appropriate that space much more, not only by collecting our own information, our own data, because this is very important for the simulation models to calibrate those, to see what is actually happening on reality. And Anne will explain how the Studio-Mobil is also used for that purposes, to really go out on the street. Some students proposing also this idea of a circus. The Studio-Mobil is a little bit like a circus, because as architect, we cannot just say, we are the architect, we make a drawing, but we have to engage on many different levels, being outside, grasping what is happening, but then proposing also and connecting people with each other. And you see also here in this video, Sarajevo, what Senka explained, this linear city, and what particularly interesting here is that almost half of the city of Sarajevo is from informal nature. These hillside settlements are informal settlements with no access to mobility systems, energy systems, etc. And this digital twin, like we call it, like a copy of Sarajevo, helps us to understand these dynamics, and then also to translate it into policies. And I think that's also maybe can be interesting for you here, to, as architect, we can also engage in policy making to create conditions for the projects which we believe have to be implemented. So we are currently changing policies in Sarajevo. For example, the street, what Senka is mentioning, not just by saying, oh, I think it would be a good idea to remove that street. No, we are using these tools to have simulations, to have arguments, and to really see what would be the impact. Is it positive? Is it negative? So we can try these things in order to create, for example, finally, the cultural district in Sarajevo. And then, of course, also thinking of how do we want to visualize also and communicate these models, so that they are not only abstract, but that they are transforming into concrete, iterative also process that engaging with input, bringing it out into active groups, citizen group. We also founded this office here in Sarajevo, the Urban Design Studio, where we have a big physical model, and also particularly there, bringing people together and having a debate, having a discussion in order to have a sort of small-scale project, but a big impact, a big change, because this prototypical idea and open source, what Diego mentioned, might be a small project, a water fountain, access to water, what we discuss also in the groups here with the students. But if you would multiply it through a whole territory, suddenly becomes a whole integrated infrastructure and a system serving the needs of the citizens, improving the quality of life. And we also developed for Sarajevo this public hearing format. What we are testing with you guys here in this Bürgerversammlung is to bring really people into the discussion, to really open up the planning institutions to citizens. We collected more than 1,000 objections to this future plan, but we were always telling them, look, this is something positive. That means people are concerned and people want to have ownership, what Hubert mentioned. And I think this is the most important, that regaining dignity also and regaining ownership of our own city, because then suddenly we want to participate in such discussions. And for that, I will give also the word to Anne to explain how sort of these tools are breaking down into this activistic intervention of the Studio-Mobil.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. So that's perhaps where does Studio-Mobil come from? And I think we can go back perhaps 5 years, where suddenly we were all faced with COVID and not being able to teach and not being able to go outside. So we were busy preparing an exhibition at the Museum of Angewandte Kunst under climate care. And we really, an exhibition takes a lot of time. Just in curatorial means, everybody's involved, 100 projects, and we work a lot with uncertainty. But the biggest thing for us was that we were actually building an archive of how to deal with the big topics that Hubert was mentioning: urbanization, ecologization, and digitalization. And so what you see in this exhibition now is actually where some of the projects come from Vienna. They have been to Sarajevo. They went on to Tirana. And every time we engage with cities, the exhibition picks up ideas. And so now we are here in Salzburg. But what actually happened in Vienna was the fact that up to the day of the opening of the exhibition, we didn't know if we would actually be opening the exhibition. And so we decided we will do it nevertheless, and we need to bring the content of the exhibition out into the public space. And so Studio-Mobil is basically the measuring device that can pick up digital data, could be wind speed or pollution in the city, and that's what it's specifically done most of the time in Sarajevo, and that's also where the big urban plan for Sarajevo was developed. But at the same time, Studio-Mobil also moves to the periphery, and this is really where we are trying to bring together the analog and the digital. Because in the end, we can measure a lot, and data we can produce in the trillions, but in the end, it's also about what do people experience in the spaces. And by basically bringing Studio-Mobil to the people and into public spaces, we can actually rectify the information, and we actually test ourselves if with what we measure is really what is perceived for the people, because in the end we design cities for people. And so we've also engaged a lot of artists in the process to partly educate, participate, but also to come up with new ideas how we could create performative cities.
Well, okay, that's coming back to this idea. Now let's get out. No, let's do things. No, I think also after this lecture, I think the most interesting thing is let's talk about the real projects. What do we want to do? There's some student projects. There's our ideas. Definitely the needs, the love, the passion to do projects. And what Hubert was showing just is also like that was 10, 12 years ago or something, with this idea of bringing out in the museum for Gegenwartskunst in Zurich. There was the idea also to bring out the exhibition. No, I think like it's not only about academia outside; it's about the museums going outside. No, this is a typology that we think it's very important that in the 21st century we can re-understand it. No, so how do we go out? That was before the pandemic, actually. No, like. And it was successful because also like under a bridge, no one was expecting in Zurich, you can find out something interesting. No, it might only be electricity on wheels, but this is already an infrastructure. No, that we believe it's a tool or a gadget to make the public space more active. No.
Okay, and to wrap it all up, now a few examples. If you're still up for it.
How's the mood? No,
how's the mood? some examples. I think the mood comes back. Okay. A few points, we can stop, we can continue, we will measure it by your appetite. So now this was a lot of sort of atmosphere and announcements. What are these guys actually doing, you will ask yourself. Okay, so it's about infrastructure. We already said nature is infrastructure, you guys are infrastructure, but how do we bring this together from an Austrian perspective? So here's one of these things. We make an image which is not particularly photorealistic, but it captures the essence of the space, the idea. It's pretty obvious. You have a place, this time it's not Sarajevo, it's Caracas. And we said, what would happen if we put an Austrian cable car in a Latin American barrio? Why? Because there are no streets. And the Inter-American Development Bank is only financing streets. They did not finance cable cars at the moment. So we figured out in this mountain that the people who live there, the mountain is called San Agustin, and the people are about 40,000. They wanted the road, but when they figured out that about a third of the buildings has to be broken down to fit the road with needle curves into the steep territory, they said, no road. We want access, but we don't want road. So what we did, we went to Mike Doppelmayr, to Vorarlberg, and we told Mike, look, your business is busted. Nobody needs ski lifts anymore. You live in Salzburg, you know how the situation is. But there's another world out there. We built this sort of cable car, but not only, as we showed in the beginning, for people who didn't have the land, they didn't have the means to build a cable car, but there's an industry which needs a reference project, because at the time we built this, there was no urban cable car in Latin American barrios. In the meantime, it's a household solution. You find cable cars. There was a guy today here from Brazil. We built another one in Morro de Providencia during the Olympics. This comes out of this experimentation. And it also comes out of experimentation because we said a station in an urban cable car is not just a place where you arrive with your skis and you buy a Kaiserschmarrn. We need other things in these areas. And we packed in these stations, 5 of them, we packed everything inside that we need. On the bottom, you go from the cable car into the metro system. On the top, there's obviously other stuff necessary. For instance, sports. So we combined the cable car station with sports centers. We combined it with music centers, with everything that is missing in the environment. It's not the housing. Housing we built by ourselves. We put this in, and obviously what you get then is that you suddenly have on the top of a mountain of a slum a station. I'm looking again at our students. Station, where are you guys? Hermano and Liat, Station Festival. We said we build a station of the best materials with the best functionality in combinations of sports and other functions on the top of a mountain to introduce infrastructure, another form of infrastructure, and that has turned basically around the whole way how this thing works. Good. That is one of the examples. And I give you another one.
What is it? Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yes. Well, public space. It's a broad concept, no? What does it mean, no? Is it equipped? Is it just a leftover? So we believe that if it's integrated with other things, no? 1 + 1 can make 3. Or if you're a mayor, you can understand if you have like different little budgets, if to combine them, the result might be better, no? For a few things, no? So a few years ago, former president of Colombia that actually won the Nobel Prize, Peace Nobel Prize, Santos, said like Colombia during this process of peace, it's a long work that has to be done. So it's not something from day to night. There's a signature and that's it. The importance of education and culture, no? And they say like Colombia needs 3,000 schools. That means 50,000 rooms. No, for the we talk also we have in Zurich our office also saying like this is the same amount of schools in Switzerland actually, no? So that's yeah, it's a huge task. And how they do it, how they operate, is also to give it to construction companies. So we think we can stretch, we can be part of this process, and also say, like, one of the first things is to understand where you're going to do it. No, so we try to keep the trees as a first idea. No, it's like not okay. We need the schools, but we need to combine it with other special needs. No, so for us, the school is not just 8 to 3. Usually, there's the thing is like it's a 24 hours social condenser. No, you can have squares, you can have sport. No, the same as we did in vertical in other places because there was a lack of land. Here, there's a bit more generous the land, but not the programs that are there. No, so in this piece of land in Cartagena, also the project that we started saying like we need to look at the back of the shore of the Caribbean shore, and understand that a school for 1,500 kids is not only for them; it's for the whole community. No. This is why we created those patios, the plazas. The library is an open space, also like a climate refuge. No, we talked about that before. No, and this aims to be a prototype. No, because if you think about 3,000 schools, you cannot design one by one. No, so this is why we establish with the availability of budget, of course, with the needs, with the conditions, no, of all the Caribbean region, like a few an architectural guidebook, no, to a manual on how we can do it in a way that also respects and understands who's going to use it, no, because I mean the construction company, I think it's getting recorded, but we gotta say like they do copy paste. No matter what, the students are not the topic. It's about money and Excel sheets, no? So I think like what we're saying here, also open source, is like, let's build one, take over. I mean, this is full of kids, 1,500 using it right now. And maybe the second one that we do, or they do, or we all together do, can be better, no? Can be improved, no? This is really what we're doing. This is, maybe next slide, is really when it says like we're doing for that, no, because they're saying no, it's not only the kids, it's also the families that are behind. It's the users of this public space, but enhanced, no, with more program, no.
You want to do another one?
I do another one. Okay, this is we're talking about culture, no. This is one of our biggest topics, and as previously mentioned, it's a bit over that the city is only for consuming or consumers, no? We are all makers and producers of our own city, no? And what we're learning also, because we're going to places, we engage 12 years here, 10 years somewhere else, not only opportunistically coming out and forth, is that there are fantastic, amazing situations like the Carnival in Barranquilla, no? That's UNESCO World Heritage in material, and is a celebration that has, after Rio de Janeiro, is the second biggest in the world, and it's amazing. Not only for us, not only, let's say, for the Lonely Planet or the tourists, maybe you just go there for a week during the year, but for us it was very interesting, this, like the producing, the making, the people behind this whole festival, no? Something interesting in this whole story is like how to reverse a little bit the process of architecture, no? We talked with the mayors, with the communities and so on, and they wanted a museum for the carnival, no? And we said like, whoa, it's good, it's important, no? We respect that, but maybe we do a school of the carnival, no? Where this diversity is represented also, no? Of course, there's a big Afro-Colombian background, no? They have to be there, no? And a museum became like a little bit of a just showing, encapsulating something that, as they say, el quien lo vive es quien lo goza. The one that lives it is the one that enjoys it. So we try to and we build up 8 years of process. So I know things take time, no, all over, but you have to start somewhere, no? So we start the other way around, with the materials, with the financing, winning competition in Chicago that made the people believe, oh, that we can be done, no? With local materials, that's also local techniques, no? We combine low-tech and high-tech, that's very interesting, something also that somehow here we're losing through catalog architecture, no? So in this case, there was an industrial area close to Barrio Abajo, one of the most vivid and with the biggest heritage in Barranquilla. You can imagine the Caribbean. Of course, I have a Spanish background also, and there's a lot of been talked, but I think that can be also later on. It's like the public space, no? How to create public space. Here in this case, Barranquilla 0.6 square meters per person, no? Usually they say like the future is 6, from 6 on, no? 6 meters per person. So the project was this integrated infrastructure. It's a vertical street that we wanted to build with squares, with the same ateliers that they have, no? For the 12 disciplines, including architecture and urban design, not only the ones for the carnival. We think that this is also happening, no? Maybe we just don't want to enter too much into detail, no? An auditorium, no? Like this is the headquarters of the Escuela Distrital de Artes y Tradiciones Populares, no? They usually were in satellites, and we kept also working with the Secretary of Culture, the satellites, but this became the headquarters, no? With places, work with them. The brief was made with the users and the coordinators and the artists, and this is our idea of using the making of this vertical street to understand what's going on, not only showing the final product during this festivity as a carnival, no? As said, no, also we're talking about tools that we have to build ourselves, high tech and so on that we can bring. At the beginning, everybody said like, "This we're not gonna make it. This stair, it's not. There has no 2 pieces equal." But at the beginning, they say we're not gonna make it. But at the end, it also became a pride, no, of like made in Barranquilla. I mean, we can do that, no. The limit is the sky, no. And by combining this high tech also with amazing welders, no, like a craftsmanship that is. Almost forgetting that you can do amazing stuff, no? From the shipyards, no, of course, no boats, double curvature. We're bringing back old techniques like Catalan vaults, also nothing new, but something that we cannot forget, no? With new application can become something very interesting. And again, no, what are we doing this? Who are our clients? No, it's not only someone that goes there, the tourist. It's part of the ecosystem of people involved on the project, but it's really also the makers. No, those are the people that we're working with and are very interesting, like a contemporary dancer, the TikTokers, cumbia, no, and that becomes like a collage of diversity that we believe through architecture we can translate. Yeah, another one. Yeah. Well, this is absolutely in the oven that came out yesterday. We are. Currently working in Medellin. We have our satellite office. Maybe, I mean, we're here with the music festival, fantastic classical music, like already like you can breathe something elevated. But we're working also with the reggaeton. It's pop culture. It's happening right now, no? Like Bad Bunny, J Balvin, Karol G. They have more power right now, and they're moving an economy and a Latino pride all over the world that has no one, not even the U.S. Music machine is going close right now. What the reggaeton is doing. So combining carnival, understanding the local culture, reggaeton. J Balvin might be the client, but also the people in the barrio that are going to make his first performance, and maybe Spotify is interested, or the ones that say, no, this is our way to express our needs. No, so how can we combine them and actually translate it in real implemented architecture, no?
Okay, so we could go on and on, but I think I get signs from Martina. It's over. We have projects outside on the Studio-Mobil, which are in the making by the students, and I think everybody is very keen to be able to discuss with some of you what is going on there. I think it is also clear that exhibitions are also architectural projects, and you're in one of these exhibitions. So while you are here, if you're interested to know more about it, you can come to either one of us here. We're very happy to explain you or show you some of the projects. Some are done by ourselves, but many of them are also done by the people we are interested. We put this call out to Salzburg, like we did before in Vienna and Shenzhen and Sarajevo. So you can still nominate projects or you can show your own project. On the 30th of August, we will have certainly new ones up on the Festung. They will be part of this overall exhibition, and we're much looking forward to it. These projects are in the making. Here's a picture from today in the afternoon. And we still have a week or so, and we're looking forward to see you again on the 30th of... 29? Okay, 29.
Friday.
Also? Okay. Open studio on the 29th of August on the Festung. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, we can discuss standing, drinking, right? Outside. Yes. Thank you.